So I trust that that's usually a pretty fun conversation for people to just get to come up with all different kinds of explanations. So I would just like to hear a few things that you came up with. So did anyone choose situation number 1? Pass a coworker in the hallway and you say hi, they stare at their phone and don't look up and acknowledge you. Did anyone choose to do that one? Okay. Who would like to share a few ideas?
Okay, group 5, sorry, Pamela.
Go ahead.
Group 5 chose number 1. Probably the biggest scenario that we could come up with is something dire on the phone is happening that has your attention.
Yeah. Anyone else? One more.
Okay, so we talked about that. A really good one was they're in the middle of a transaction, you know, like they're paying a bill or they're making a deposit or something, and they really can't allow you to interrupt their concentration.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful. The one that does get me all the time is this. They're not talking to me. Had so many conversations with people only to find out they're not actually talking to me. All right, did anyone choose number 2? You're sharing during a meeting and someone starts talking over you about an unrelated topic.
Yep.
Anyone do that one?
I'd like to jump in here. Not sure what group we are, but Reese and Amy were in groups. I thought something really astute Reese mentioned is that they may see the topics as related and they're just doing a poor job of kind of building the bridge between the 2 topics.
That's wonderful. One other example. Do we have one more out there just to get some variety? Okay. Oh, wait, did somebody start talking? Otherwise, I'll tell you why I do it all the time. I wasn't paying attention and I got really excited about an idea. Not okay. But as often, I see some of you are like, ooh, yeah, I'm not alone. How about number 3? Driving down the freeway, highway, whatever you call it where you are, a car merges in front of you, causing you to need to apply your brakes quickly to avoid a collision. Did anybody choose this one?
He
clearly,
this guy had been, or this person had been at the grocery store, bought some delicious Tillamook ice cream, and got sidetracked with the phone conversation, realized, oh man, this stuff's melting in my trunk, gotta get home, stat, like freezer needs to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because priorities.
Right.
Absolutely agree. Thank you, Mike. Any other ideas about what might be going on? They really have to go to the restroom, yes. Or a medical emergency. Or how about this one? I don't know if anyone came up with these, but here's one alternative for each one. The coworker, they're just a jerk. They don't like you. They're avoiding you. The sharing during the meeting, the person doesn't respect you and they wanted you to stop talking because you've been talking too much. Someone on the highway, they're just not paying attention and they're frustrated because maybe you're going too slow. So I'm telling you those because sometimes people just are jerks. Sometimes that's the case, but here's what I can tell you. Whether I'm right or wrong about why they're doing something, I get such better results by coming into the discussion with the assumption that there has to be a reason this person is behaving this way, other than they woke up today with a personal vendetta and are doing everything they can to ruin my life. So I want to acknowledge though that yes, sometimes it is just the person is rude. We're going to talk about how to get into that conversation, but this is something that we're doing to get our heads right. So we're ready to jump into that game. Now, I want us to look at feedback because now we've got ourselves ready. We're going to look at a quick feedback model that will help you put some of that core piece around how do you communicate to somebody about this. So let's take a look at feedback. So inviting a dialogue is getting people ready by making sure that you choose language that makes it safe for the other people to come into the conversation as well. Let me just make sure, there we go. So let's first look at what is feedback. Sometimes we have a misunderstanding about what feedback is for. So here's how I think about feedback. We use feedback to help someone else become more aware of their behavior and the impact it's having. I like to use the term reinforcing or redirecting behavior as opposed to positive and negative, because what feedback is doing is helping people understand, are they on the right track? And so feedback is not to hurt someone's feelings. It's not a net negative thing. It's just we tend to only use it when we have bad news to share. But really the reason that we provide feedback in general is to hold up a mirror and to share with the other person the behavior we're observing and how it's impacting us or how we're seeing it impact others. Feedback is the most frequently used tool of highly effective leaders. They practice it, they prepare for it. Even when they're not about to deliver the feedback, they're thinking about how would I deliver this feedback? And there's a model that you can just kind of wrap your head around that makes it a lot easier to do this in the moment. The piece I want to make sure that we also give ourselves, you are not responsible for what the person does with the feedback. Sometimes we feel like feedback and we mistake it for behavior change. It's not. Feedback is the mirror. You are responsible for helping your folks understand how their behavior is impacting, but it's completely up to them whether they change it or not, barring performance management, big issues. So we can either reinforce and say, ooh, that thing you just did, do more of that. I want more of that. Or we can redirect and say, yeah, I think there's a different way to do this, and I want to point that out to you. The reason this matters so much is strengths-based leadership includes feedback. The story on this slide, we're not going to super deep dive into it with the math on it. I just want you to look at the pictures. The circle all the way to so the colors are engaged employees, the light blue is not engaged, and the red is actively disengaged. So we're throwing back to that building highly engaged team that you talked about with Ray a few months ago. Notice that people leaders who focus on feedback on strengths have the highest amount of engagement. Those who focus on weaknesses have the next highest. Look at the lowest. The lowest is not the managers who give feedback and do it poorly. The lowest level of engagement you can ever get is to not do it at all. So when you're avoiding a tough conversation, when you're avoiding giving feedback, you're actually contributing pretty heavily to potential disengagement. So this is to tell you, you're better off doing it poorly and then getting better than you are not doing it because you can't do it perfect. Let's take a look at a model, situation, behavior, results. You likely already do a lot of this with your feedback, but just this helps me frame it up. What's the context? So what happened in the team meeting yesterday? This is just helping and remembering that they're not in your head. So you got to catch them up to what you're talking about. The behavior, what specifically did you see? Was it good? Was it bad? And you really do need to give a specific example. And then the result is letting people understand the so what. Why are you telling them this? What is the potential result? On the next slide, I've got a little bit of an example to highlight. So the situation may be, may I share an observation with you? At yesterday's team meeting, you appeared to be frustrated. We're using appeared instead of you were, because we don't know that that was what was going on, but that's what we observed. The behavior, while John was reviewing the Net Promoter Score comments, I noticed you rolling your eyes and checking your phone. The result, this made me think that you were either annoyed with John or not invested in the meeting. You've given a clear reminder of what you were doing at the time you saw it. You've made a very specific reference so that this person understands what it is you're pointing out. And then we always forget to do the result, but this is, I feel like, the most effective piece because it's, why are you even telling me this, right? We can't assume that the other person understands the connection between the feedback that we're giving them and the expectations that we have for them. Now we are going to have some time. Oh, I looked at the chat and I saw they really have to go to the bathroom. And I forgot that that was about the prior activity. So this is why I don't look at chat. Okay, you are going to go and do some practice. I'm going to give you 2 different scenarios that you'll be able to practice coming up with a situation, behavior, result statement. And then I'm also going to invite you, time permitting, to use an example of your own. This might be one of the feedback conversations that you're avoiding. You can get yourself some practice. Boy, are we not looking for perfection. We're looking for effort. All right, when we come back together, I'll ask for a few examples, but you're gonna find everything you need to complete this activity on that 2nd and 3rd page in your breakout activities pieces. So you've got form fill there. You've got one that's reinforcing. We often forget that feedback is to reinforce as well. So there's a scenario that you wanna reinforce. There's a scenario that you'd like to redirect. And then you also have an opportunity to choose your own situation. You can collectively choose one as a group, or you can use your own individually. we're going to send you into the breakout rooms in just a moment. This one's a little interesting because I would like you all to have, no, you don't. Do it together. We're better together. So that's your task in your breakout. I would rather that you get one that you're comfy with than all three done. The idea is that you get a chance to practice so you can replicate this over and over and over using this model. What information would you like from me about what I mean by situation, behavior, result, and what it looks like to prepare? These are preparing your feedback statements, not giving them yet.
Could we go back to the previous slide?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Off you go. We're going to take, we're just going to take 5 minutes for this. So you're probably going to pick the one that you want to do and do it well, and you can replicate that later. 5 minutes because I want to give you a chance to do the final, putting it all together as well. So we'll send you out. Let me know if you need me. Otherwise, we'll see you back here in 5 minutes. I'll ask for 1 or 2 examples of an SBR statement that you came up with in your group. You'll be working with the same groups again. See you in just a bit.